Already messed up. What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Today is our day. We got a living legend in the house, man. I bought the high dollar cold daddies because we got the man in the house. Everybody give a big Americana welcome to Mr. TB Ledford, dude. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us.
Thanks.
Man.
I love that name, Americana.
We had a lot of arguments on whether we should keep it or not, but nobody could ever come up with a better argument. So the Americana it is. Let's see who's hanging out with us already. We got LTD in the house. What's up, Anne Marie? Josh says, I can't see these comments. I might need to move. I'm old as hell. I got to move this stuff closer. What's up, Burt? Had my surgery this morning, and the nurse asked me if I was nervous, and I told her I just hope the meds wear off before the live stream. Long story short, I'm doing good and ready for the stream. Man, glad the surgery went well, buddy. We got Cyber. We got the Godfather. What's up, Bruzy? Bruzy is all the way from Denmark.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So he hangs out with us at like 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever time it is. But man, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Who are you? Why are you a legend?
If I'm a legend for doing anything, it probably was for managing to stay in the Kudzu Kings as long as I did, and all the shots of Jägermeister they like to do. I am Thomas Brian Ledford III. Go by Brian Ledford. Go by Tommy Brian Ledford. TB Ledford. All different names conferred on me by different band members and bandmates, and so I just kind of learned to answer to anything. I grew up in a Southern Baptist church.
Preach.
Found out that we have that in common. So
Everybody
came
goes
with
to
a real
church.
strong musical background. It's where I learned to sing harmony, where I learned to play along with folks, all those things. And from an early age, just knew that I wanted to make music. I love music. That was a simpler time when you could be like, I'll just be a musician and see what happens. I don't know if I would advise that now.
Woo, it's tough out there.
It's tough out there right now, but I'm a little bit older, so back when I was first getting started, it still seemed like a thing someone could do with their life, and I am still doing it. So yeah, so it's worked out for me so far. I get to meet lots of amazing people, get to have fun experiences on stage, and get to play with wonderful musicians. So yeah, it's not a lot of regrets as far as the career choice. I'm happy doing what I get to do.
There's not many musicians out there that can say that.
I know. And now, I mean, I was explaining to you, I'm a music teacher in Madison, Mississippi. I teach kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and I get to do what I would like to do anyway, which is get up every morning and
Sing some songs.
sing and jump around and listen to music and talk about music. I have a feature part of my class is the Musician of the Month, which is
Big deal.
People like, well, of course, I have to do Elvis for his birthday month, but we do a month on Dolly Parton.
Come on.
We do a month on the Staple Singers. We do a month on the Stax house band, Booker T and the MGs.
Nice.
And so we do a month on Earth, Wind, and Fire, which is not very Americana, but gosh, they're awesome.
So good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I still get to talk about the things I like to talk about, play the songs I like to play, and be with people who are extremely enthusiastic about music.
Yeah. Well,
Kindergartners.
Oh, dude, they get so excited about music. Now, let me tell you why I invited you here. So I have been really frustrated because throughout my music journey, I never really had anybody to teach me anything. Like, I learned church music, and then I stopped doing church music and started doing this other kind of music. And I hear of other friends that I know that talk about how they have this mentor and that somebody kind of taught them the ways, or somebody showed them music that they should listen to. And I never had that. And that's really the reason I started doing like reaction videos. It's because I don't know any music. I went from a completely Christian music background to wanting to learn about new music, and I never had anybody kind of like help me out. And so I started making these videos on YouTube where people who know music could tell me, hey, you need to go hear this song, or hey, you need to go do this thing. And then I met Matthew and then met you a couple weeks ago, and I was like, here is somebody that can teach me everything I need to know and like not be on a screen, but like you've been doing it for so long, and I just want to have you here to like teach me, tell your stories about kind of how your experience has been. And I just want to I want to learn from you. I want us to just celebrate your songs and stuff. But it would be so cool for me because I feel like we have a similar path in a lot of ways. We'll talk about Thacker Mountain Radio and all that kind of stuff later, to where you created this thing that is kind of similar to what I'm doing now, except, you know, on some screens and not live.
Finding an audience.
What do I have to do? Do I need to pay you to be my friend and like just teach me things? Do I need to come mow your yard? Cold beer?
This is easy. Just be pleasant. In these days, that's all it takes.
It's hard to find it these days.
Just be pleasant with somebody, and and they'll do anything you want them to do. Just be nice. It's easy these days.
I really am honored, and we're going to talk about kind of what you've done throughout music in Mississippi. But why don't you want to start us off with something, man? You want to play something?
I will say that I'm feeling honored to be honored.
I am the one who
in
is
this way. We
honored.
used to have these guys on Thacker Mountain that would be out touring, and they would people like Sleepy LaBeef that had just been playing this kind of music forever, and going through the ups and downs. Like, clearly the disco era was not a great time to be playing Americana music. But then all of a sudden, here comes "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" and then everybody's all about it. So, but these guys will come on, and sometimes some of the older blues musicians from around Mississippi. And I remember thinking when I was a lot younger, it's like, I hope I can be like that one day. I hope I can live to be old enough to where people will give me a gig just because I'm old and I know the songs.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's I'm starting to edge into that area now, and that's a fun place to be.
It's a great place to be.
I don't know. What would you like for me to play? Cause I do some originals that, you know what? I'm going to start with a gospel number.
Come on.
Because something you said earlier about coming from, your church background and not knowing a lot about Americana, I personally can't think of a better place to start than with old-timey gospel singing, which is probably rooted in a lot of traditions, but in my experience, it is most firmly rooted in Southern Baptist traditions. All those church songs, the Heavenly Highway hymns. Did y'all have one of those? All of those. If you know those songs, you will find those melodies and that chord structure, and just that comes around in American music all the time, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. That's the best place to start.
The bedrock. Mm-hmm. Take us there, man.
Exactly. All right. Last night I dreamed I'd foundered in the dark and silent wood, without a light or lantern to show me where I stood. As my soul lay despairing in the night's eternal shade, well, I heard the voice of Jesus ringing through the glade. Aren't you my child? Aren't you my own? Tell me, why are you crying in the dark all alone? By the mark on my side, by the blood on my brow, aren't you my child? Come home to me now. Walking through this world of man, I quickly lost my way, blinded by the sparkle of the things that must decay. I was fearing that I'd never gaze upon the crystal sea, when I heard the voice of Jesus calling after me. Aren't you my child? Aren't you my own? Tell me, why are you crying in the dark all alone? By the mark on my side, by the blood on my brow, aren't you my child? Come home to me now.
Come on now. Come on. You going like that just reminds me of so many times with my meemaw singing, and that's how I got actually introduced to a lot of this stuff, is going to like fifth Sunday singings with her. I remember singing Old Rocky Top and a bunch of old just.
Y'all sang Rocky Top in church?
As a fifth Sunday singing, but it was in the church, but it was like anybody that wanted to get up and sing a song could sing a song.
Oh, okay.
Which
That's
was
awesome, though.
an interesting
Yeah.
vibe. And so you mentioned that after 18, you didn't do as much church music, right? You started branching out, or
Yeah, I mean, I went to school. I went to LSU. I grew up in North Louisiana.
okay,
And I managed to secure a way to get to go to LSU against everybody's wishes. And had a fantastic time down there. Really enjoyed it.
a lot of fun down there.
Mm-hmm. But told myself I was good and done with church music, but it was too much a part of me. The melodies, that last song is a song that I wrote, and people will tell me they really enjoy the song. It sounds like an old church song. Well, it should, because I was in church about 18 hours a week.
At least
when I was a kid, at least. So those melodies, those rhythms, a lot of those themes are, that's the soil I've got to work with. That's what I got.
Yeah.
And I can't ever say there's been a point where I would turn my back on that stuff. And in times when I was the most frustrated with my religion and my religious upbringing, it was always those old gospel songs that were able to bring me back around and remind me what my faith meant to me and what spirituality meant to me, even if it seemed to be in contrast with every single other person in my denomination.
Yeah.
I still knew what the songs meant, and I still understood, what they'd meant to me ever since I was a child. So that never wavered. And then I got to be a little bit older and ended up living in Oxford and going out opening for some friends of mine called the Neckbones. They're a punk rock band. And it was just going to be just me getting up there. And I had some songs I'd written that I thought were kind of punky, rocky.
How do you open for a punk rock? Did you just play
solo?
acoustic?
Oh, no, electric.
You played electric?
Oh, yeah, electric with my rat pedal.
All right.
For sure. And first time I did it, I was just nervous. We're down in Biloxi somewhere. And I did a couple of my songs and was getting a good reaction out of it. And then I just launched into Sweet By and By, which was my great-grandmother's favorite song.
Okay.
In the sweet by and by. But I did it like punk rock. And all the punk rock kids were right down front going like, oh, wow, this is amazing.
Really?
And so it was just something that I always was able to go back and draw on as my musical roots.
Right.
Kind of where I'd come from.
Okay, so tell us how did you get started into playing with bands in Oxford? Did you live in Oxford for a long time?
I graduated from LSU.
Okay.
I went and worked in Texas out in the woods for about a year. When I graduated, working at an outdoor ed center, teaching kids from inner city Houston how to fish and canoe and turn on a flashlight and stuff like that. It was great, but again, we were out in the woods, and so when I didn't have kids, I had a lot of time to play music and think about what I wanted to do. Yeah. And I had good friends in Oxford that were in bands, and they invited me to come visit them, and I ended up moving there. And, kind of really worked my way up from the ground up in the music scene. Okay,
so, by the way, folks out there, like, if you have any questions for him, let me know, and I'll read them. I'm not going to be as interactive as I usually am with the comments and stuff, so y'all let us know. Do you know Charlie Townsend? You know who Charlie Townsend is? He's a buddy of mine who helps me a lot on the channel, and he jokingly said a second ago after you were singing, he said, "Now I'm the 5th best singer in our community," and that's putting yourself pretty high, Chuck. Putting yourself pretty high. Okay, so I have never grown up, or I've never lived in a city where I felt like there was a thriving music scene with the kind of music that I like. But it sounds like back in the day, Oxford was definitely that place for a lot of music that was going on.
Absolutely.
So
one
how
of the
was
reasons
that?
one of the reasons I chose to move to Oxford was two of my favorite bands when I lived at LSU when I was still in college were Beanland, George McConnell and JoJo Herman's outfit, it was in the 80s, and the Hilltops, which was John and Laurie Stewart and Carrie Hudson, which later became Blue Mountain.
Right.
So I already knew that this was a small town, which I like small towns.
Me too.
But that could support a music scene. And of course, the reason was because Ole Miss is there, and plenty of people were willing to pay cover to support the music scene.
Yeah.
So when I moved there, that was the idea. It boiled down to I was either going to move there and play music or move to New Orleans. And Oxford felt a lot more my speed. As much as I love New Orleans, as much as I love New Orleans music, I would have felt a little bit like a carpetbagger, I think, showing up in New Orleans and starting to try to play New Orleans music.
Right. Yeah.
So that seemed like a more natural fit, moving to Oxford.
Yeah.
And
you made a great decision after everything.
Irony is, but before it was all over, I ended up getting to play with all of those guys that were my heroes.
Yeah.
And it was a good decision. It was really exciting.
Okay, and so what came first? You playing in the bands in Oxford or Thacker?
Me playing around at Oxford.
Okay.
But those two things kind of really took off at the same time. I got asked to join the Kudzu Kings after their first record had come out, and Max Williams, their amazing guitar player / steel guitar player, was moving back to Jackson. It wouldn't be able to travel as much.
Yeah.
So they asked me to come on and play banjo and mandolin.
Okay.
With them.
I didn't know you played those. All right. How many instruments do you play?
I play all of them.
You and Matthew McGee, man.
Every
dadgum instrument.
To varying degrees of proficiency.
Yeah.
All the way down to, if you give me a fiddle, you should leave. But I will play it.
You know a lot of folks in your community that play the fiddle. I feel like the fiddle is always, because all y'all's kids play the fiddle.
Yes.
Everybody, Matt's got like 17 brothers. They all play the fiddle. Fiddle is pretty covered.
I've got 2 daughters that play the fiddle and 1 daughter that plays the cello. So, yeah. I made sure that my weak side was covered when it came to the string section.
Yeah. Okay, and so tell folks about Thacker Mountain, because I've got even my neighbors are big Thacker Mountain fans.
Awesome.
And one of my neighbors from New Zealand, and his wife showed him the radio show, and he fell in love with it. And I texted him earlier, and I was like, by the way, I kind of have Mr. Thacker Mountain coming over here, so if a random Kiwi walks in the front door, like, raising hell in here.
Awesome.
Just fair warning.
We just played a live Thacker Mountain performance Thursday night in Oxford, and it'll be broadcast in a couple of weeks on Mississippi Public Radio and Alabama Public Radio.
Can you tell folks what is Thacker Mountain Radio?
Thacker Mountain Radio, the way it started was we were playing in a bluegrass band in Oxford, myself and Caroline Herring and Ed Dye, we'll talk about him later, and George Sheldon. And we'd started doing a nightly, every Tuesday night we'd do just kind of a bluegrass show. And somebody had the great idea of putting it on the radio, and then that person left town, and we were left with a radio show that wasn't really a radio show.
Yeah.
And we went and talked to Richard Howarth, the owner of Square Books on the Square in Oxford, and
one of my
asked him
favorite books.
if he would want to let us use one of his spaces. They had a different bookstore called Off Square Books that had a larger space, and we'd seen Blue Mountain play there for a Larry Brown book reading and book signing.
Okay.
So I saw that and I was like, well, this seems like something that could be a regular thing. We could do this. And Richard was amenable and agreed to, kind of fund it and let us put on the show. Nice. And that 25 years later, it is a it still involves a lot of acoustic music. They've been able to make it bigger to where they can accommodate more, louder bands. But when we first started it, the idea was that we want to have a place people could come and play acoustic music, and people could listen to it without, hearing beer bottles breaking in garbage cans and people hollering and all that. So that's kind of what we managed to put together.
We're going to talk about that a little bit.
We managed to put that together, and half the show is music and half is readings from, famous authors for the most part who come around a lot. If everybody's listening, if you like Americana music, I would say definitely start checking out Thacker Mountain Radio. It will take you back in time. It is literally an old-timey radio show, warts and all. You get to hear everything that goes down.
But it is a staple in Mississippi, and I think that anybody that knows about Mississippi music views Thacker the same way that other people view very just like staple things in their own state. And so like I just want to say thank you for doing that. And I feel like it has so much, or it's so similar to what I'm doing here. It's very different in some ways, but in some ways it's very similar to where I just started making these videos on the internet, not like thinking of anything. And then this community of music fans has started to grow and has started to support this weird thing that we have going on, to where every Tuesday night we get together and we love on music, whether I bring friends to play music, whether I play or whether we listen to music on YouTube or whatever. And it's just so cool to be a part of something that just feels, bigger than yourself. And so I had a question. What advice would you give to somebody like me who's trying to build a music community similar to what you guys were doing? You've been doing it for so long now. Like, what advice would you give to me and our community who are also like building this?
I don't think I could give you any advice. I think you would have to give me advice.
That
on
is
how
not
to build
true.
the community.
Come on now.
My philosophy has always been along the lines of if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Type thing. And that's the way it was with Thacker. We didn't know if it would go over or not. Me personally, I just wanted a place to play acoustic music where people could hear it, and I could hear myself and have a good experience communicating with the audience. We had people coming to Proud Larry's at that time, but I'll never forget, Guy Clark came to Proud Larry's and people talked the whole time.
It just blows my mind.
He got up and threatened to whip somebody's butt from stage. He pointed at him. If I hear one more word out of you, I'm going to come down there.
But that's like our only card to play. Like, while you're playing and there's an asshole talking and ruining the show for somebody, the only way, some people try to do it in a funny way, and a lot of times that doesn't work. And I just feel like it's either you have to be an asshole and tell them to shut up, or you just have to deal with it.
Del McCurry and his band handled it the best I've ever seen anybody handle it in Proud Larry's. And again, if you don't know Oxford, Mississippi, it is a town that is very supportive of the arts, but it is also a town where there's a lot of importance showed up on, given to just showing up and being there. You made the scene. So you'll have, back then this was an enormous amount of money. You'd have a $25 cover charge, and there were plenty of people willing to pay that because they just wanted to make the scene. Yeah. They didn't know the artist, they didn't know the music, they weren't that interested. So they would come in and talk and have a good time. Woo-hoo, I'm at the bar having a great time. And the people that had scrimped and saved their $25 to come hear Guy Clark,
who they love,
are looking around, and it's, you got to have both.
Yeah.
To be able to pay people, you got to have people that are willing to pay the money to get in. And so, that was something that we dealt a lot with when we were trying to get the show up off the ground. But at least playing Thacker is like playing church. Yeah. Nobody talks. It's absolutely silent. And you can get as low as you want to do. But what Dale McCurry and his band did, which was mostly his sons, everybody's being really loud. They're trying to do the authentic bluegrass thing, no pickups, playing into microphones, and they once they realized that it was going to be a loud crowd, they put their instruments down and got around the mic and started singing a gospel song, way low, a cappella, and got the whole room quiet eventually because it just finally shamed the people who were trying to make a connection with somebody at the bar.
Yeah.
And it was pretty amazing. It was pretty
I've tried that
powerful.
before. Like I've tried to, when I hear it's starting to get loud, I'll try to get really quiet and bring it down and try to like almost just whisper sing to make them realize how loud they are. And then sometimes they still don't care. And
You're not going to get louder than them.
yeah, and then
You're not going to beat them at the loudness.
they
game.
just keep yelling. I'm like, all right, I tried. I played my. That's the only card I know without like saying something is to get so quiet to like everybody just starts to look at them. But I don't know. How about you play another one for us, man? What you feeling? I got plenty of songs I can recommend, but
I'm gonna do the original theme song to the Thacker Mountain Radio
come on now.
show.
Yes.
Goes like this. Excuse me. If you're sad and lonesome, if you're feeling blue, drive on down to Oxford Town. We've got a little show for you. Lights are up, the band's all here and ready to begin. Thacker Mountain Radio is on here again. It's your fire tower radio hour, 6,000 watts of power. Thacker Mountain Radio is on the air again.
We got to get a song, y'all. We got to write a song. This man's got his own song for his show. Dad, that man, you
We had to have a theme song.
had to have a theme song. What all instruments and stuff did you have? Was it just
The original house band was myself on mostly banjo and mandolin.
Okay.
Wendell Hagg, who played in a lot of jazz bands around Oxford at the time, but was an excellent guitar player and singer. Dave Woolworth, who was playing, I'd started playing with him in the Kudzu Kings. He was a founding member of the Kudzu Kings, played upright bass and sang bass and was just generally a larger-than-life personality on stage.
Yeah.
And then Caroline Herring played guitar and mandolin and sang for us. And she was from Canton. And then after a few years doing Thacker, she moved on to Austin and started a very successful, solo career. People who are familiar with American music coming out of Mississippi will probably know who Caroline is.
Yeah.
Which she still continues to do to this day.
That's cool, man. What's your best Thacker story?
I got a lot of great Thacker stories.
I bet.
Because the people we had on the radio show were generally people already in town doing a show somewhere later that night, usually at Proud Larry's.
Yeah.
So in our very first season, we had Peter Rowan on the show. We had David Rawlings and Gillian Welch on the show.
Now, sometimes name drop is not cool, but you throw down Jillian, you're like, you got to talk about her.
We're still trying to figure out how radio shows work. We didn't know, and all of a sudden, here's Gillian Welch and David Rawlings coming on and want to play some songs.
Possibly the greatest of all time.
Got to play with Elvis Costello, and Drive-By Truckers. Just about anybody you'd want to name that's toured through Mississippi in the past 25 years. We had them on the show. My favorite story. All right, I'm going to tell this story because it's a little bit self-deprecating. At that time in my life, I was still very, my approach to music was still still very, very black and white. And, I believe, you're in tune, and there's a standard tuning, and you tune your guitar, and then you can play with everybody else. It's a system that we've all worked out to where we can play music together. We agree on what in tune is, and we go there. And one of the things we'd like to do at the end of every show was play a song with the guest musicians. We were the house band. We'd play with the guest musicians.
Yeah.
We'd come up with a song like "With the Circle Be Unbroken" or "You Are My Sunshine," something everybody knew that we could play without practicing. And I really wanted to play with this blues player that we had on there, and I do not remember his name. I remember he was extremely old. He was extremely authentic and really amazing. He had a beat-up old harmony guitar, and I went and talked to him about a song we could play together, and we decided on something. It was great, and we started playing with him. And I immediately realized his guitar was way out of tune, like it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And I kind of hinted around, like, boy, hey, what? Strum that G chord again. Let me hear that. And he just, and to my ears, it was so far out of tune. Like, oh gosh, what are we gonna do? So at some point, he went to the bathroom, and I grabbed a tuner, and I snuck over there and I tuned his guitar. Again, in my hubris and my idea about what music should be, his guitar was not in tune.
Yeah.
And so
it was wrong.
It was wrong, and I fixed it. I made it right. And he got up there to do his 2 or 3 songs, and he went to start singing, and he played his guitar, and then he stopped, and he went, and put everything right back where it had been, and I had just a light bulb went off my head. It's like, he was in tune. He was in tune, what he heard. And, of course, he played brilliantly. And he did not join us on the last song.
Was he pissed off?
Oh, no.
He didn't know. He never found out.
No.
He's on the fly, just like,
on the fly. And did not take any time with it. Just went, you've heard somebody, tune their guitar while they're playing, and then went right back into it. Just a real, I don't want to say professional, because that's not the right word, but just knew his sound and knew where he was going to be. And I went from like feeling sorry for this guy for not being able to play his guitar to realizing how far I had to go.
Yeah.
To really understand and appreciate what real music could be.
Yeah.
So that's not the funniest story I got, but it was the one that made the most impact on me. Where, one of those things where you duck your head and go think about your life for a few weeks.
Like, how dare, and this happens so much to us when we're young, but how dare me think that I can go tell this guy what he should be doing because he's been doing it for what? I mean, how old is he? 60,
exactly.
70?
Oh my gosh, who knows? I don't even think he knew. And yeah. And I'm sorry, I really don't remember his name. I remember just about everybody else we had on there, but I just remember that. But we played with so many great people. Jessie Mae Hemphill came on the show and brought her little dog, Sweetie, like a little tiny lap dog, and that dog ran and sat under her chair. And the whole time she played her set, the little lap dog sat under her chair and listened to her play. Yeah. And then followed her around everywhere she went. And I want to say her grandfather was Sid Hemphill, who was one of those guys that was hugely influential, but before they actually could record music. Yeah. So people will talk about him who know. Some of those guys like Stephen Chain and all these dudes that we just know from. See, all these names, I don't know none of these folks. Not a single name. He keeps naming all these things like all the people who know. And that's why I need you to help me to know. I need you just to teach me a course. They get name dropped in old songs. Yeah. You'll hear a song from 1910, a Jelly Roll Morton song, and he'll name drop Stephen Chain and be like, oh, Stephen Chain was the dude on piano. But we don't know who those people were because they weren't making records back then. Yeah. Everybody knows the Carter family and Jimmy Rogers and the birth of country music, but we don't know who they learned from. So we all like, oh, country music started with the Carter family and Jimmy Rogers, but again, we don't know who they learned from. It probably was another Carter. Yeah. All the Carters. Exactly. Oh, cool. And so you started with the Kudzu King. Was the first band that you got into in Oxford? Or I played in several bands in Oxford. Right. It was more economically smart to play in several bands in several different styles, so you could try to be working as many nights a week as possible without having to do the same thing over and over again. Yeah. So I played in a college rock band. I played in a folk duo. What all instruments did you play? Mostly guitar. I mean, I grew up playing piano. I played piano in church. So
Okay.
I grew up playing piano, and I got to college, and we had a party at our house one night when I was a sophomore, and a bunch of girls had come over there, and the lead singer for Better Than Ezra showed up,
What?
and he took my roommate's guitar. They were at LSU too at the same time.
Yeah.
Took my roommate's guitar, and he started playing Brown Eyed Girl, and I'm like, man. I'm watching his fingers, and I can see what he's doing. I didn't know how to play the guitar, but I'm watching his fingers. And there was like circles of girls sitting there just eating it up, just loving everything he was doing. I'm like, that wasn't that tricky. That was 3 chords over and over again. I think I can handle that. So that's when I switched to guitar. Also, it was a lot more portable than piano.
Oh God, yeah. Back then,
And from
you
then,
probably
it was
couldn't have.
just, if it had strings, make noise on it. I saw Crossroads when I was a kid, so I had to learn to play harmonica. Yeah, I was an only child. Spent a lot of time entertaining myself. Put it that way.
Thank God. Thank God you did. I sadly played too many sports when I was younger. If I could go back, I would stop playing sports and immediately get like back into music. But all right, hit us
It's
with
easier on
something
your
else.
knees.
Hit us with something else. What you want to play?
What were we just talking about?
By the way, if anybody, this is a very, very chill episode. Markar says she's loving it. We're just hanging out tonight, learning from the legend himself. If anybody would like to support my man, Mr. TB over here, you can donate in the tip jar. All the money's going to him tonight. So throw him some bones, everybody. I will also be throwing in a little bit myself. So go love on him for coming and spending the time with us and
You
hanging
bought
out
the
with us.
beer.
Huh?
You bought the beer.
I bought the beer. I'm gonna buy some more stuff.
I'll do a little bit of this one. This is one of my murder ballads that I like to write. And it's snow in West Virginia, and it's rain in Caroline, and it's blood in Alabama, where my true love's died. There's girls whose hearts will wander as they say their love is strong. They will kiss you with their sweet lips as they plan to do you wrong. And there's men who store up anger, they store it up so deep inside. It's when it's loose, it comes like lightning, lightning fast and lightning blind. And in a field on the highway, near a stand of white oak trees, my darling lied for the last time, and my rage spilled out of me. She said, "Oh, running her crying, will you give me time to pray?" I said yes, and I stood off from her, and I shot her anyway. And there's snow in West Virginia, and there's rain in Caroline, and it's blood way down in Alabama, where my true love's died.
Come on. You're such a good guitar player, man.
Oh no!
Like,
Oh, I wish it was.
by the way, Cody Cody tipped $10 and said, "Thanks for coming to visit. You sound great." Thank you, Cody, for that. Appreciate
you, Cody.
buddy. Keep it on coming, everybody. So you're gonna think this is crazy, but I had never heard the term murder ballad until maybe a year ago, because like I said, I've never had anybody teach me anything about all this stuff. And so, what are some of your favorite murder ballads?
Oh man, I mean, I really when I started playing out, I got on a huge murder ballad kick. Again, we got to go back to church.
Come on now.
The very first murder ballad was the story of Jesus, an innocent who gets killed for reasons that aren't their fault.
Right.
And so that that feeling you get right there, whatever. I don't even know what the name of that is, but that's the core of murder ballads. And Tom Dooley is a murder ballad.
You know that?
I would like another one of those. Only Wise went out last night to make a little round. I met little Sadie and I shot her right down. Went back home and I got into bed. 44 pistol under my head. And they then I got fascinated with them because they all seem to be kind of telling the same story.
Yeah.
Which always involves some guy telling a girl he was going to marry her.
Yep.
And meet me out in the woods, and we will run off and get married, and instead taking her off and killing her. And it's almost never spelled out in the songs, but what I finally learned was the implication was that she was pregnant. So he'd already said, "I will marry you," and got her to sneak off, and then she shows up pregnant, and he can't, doesn't want the community to find out, and so he ends up murdering her, and of course he ends up getting caught. In the last verse, the rhyming couplet is always jail and bail. And every single song, there's hundreds of them, but at the end it's like, they took me on down to so-and-so jail, wouldn't nobody go my bail.
Always, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any, so we listen to so many young kind of up-and-comer folks. Are there any young, new folks that you've heard that you've been really impressed with? I know you love all the old stuff. So Coulter Wall comes to mind. I don't know if you've heard any of his stuff. New guy from, I think he's like 22, 23, from Canada, and plays really traditional country music and has some murder ballads that I think you might like.
Yep.
But are there any new folks or any new stuff that you're getting into that you've heard recently?
I don't know if I can say there's a lot of new acoustic,
See, you're the old
music.
you love the old good timey stuff.
I really do. And there's plenty of times I'll hear people that I enjoy their music, but invariably it reminds me of an older song that I like better.
Yeah.
And I want to go back and check that out.
Right.
I spend a lot of time listening to music, trying to put myself in the head of the person that is writing the song and the people that are singing the songs. I have 4 younger daughters, and I want to stay hip as far as they're concerned. So I'll be honest with you. The new band I'm really, really liking right now is called Wet Leg. They are
Great band name.
2 females.
I've heard about
from
them. Okay.
Isle of Wight.
Yes.
And they do punk, but it's very melodic punk.
Yeah.
And I love their energy. I love that they can play their instruments just enough to really nail the part they're trying to do.
Yeah.
They're not in. Anyway, you're asking what I'm listening to.
Okay.
I can't quit listening to Wet Leg.
I feel like
it's not Americana.
Is it from you who I heard that? Have you shared something about them
Yeah,
recently?
probably. I can't quit talking about them.
I think it was.
Well, I
you.
mean, everybody else is talking about them. It's like I did. I didn't discover them. I read an article where somebody said they were great. So
Yeah.
that's where I came across it.
Okay, so you made a comment to me recently when we were talking on the phone yesterday, or maybe the first time I met you. You said that you were Americana before Americana was cool. And so tell us kind of that story where you were talking about earlier with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, and how times have changed and how the genre kind of ebbs and flows in popularity, because you've been doing it for a while now. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've seen how now, there's just this huge... Brent just tipped 13. Man, there's so many tips that I haven't even been paying attention. Oh, my God. All right, so we got Cyber from Texas tipped $20.
So much.
said, thanks, TB. Joshy D, who we call the Godfather around here, basically because everything that you see has been paid for by the Godfather. He tipped $100.
Oh, man.
Brent tipped 13. The Godfather said, love this. Feels like I'm sitting on the front porch with my papaw.
Oh, yeah.
It's the biggest compliment
If you got a
anybody's ever
papaw,
given.
you know then.
Come on now. Brent tipped $13.37. That's an interesting number. And he said, great show. Thanks, Bird and TB. And then Jason Morfitt tipped $6.90. Wonder why? Man,
$6.90.
come on. my tip thing that I use, like the three options that it gives you are like $4.20, $6.90. I think so. So like it's encouraging you to be naughty.
Good.
But dude, thank y'all so much for being so generous, man. That punched
Thank
me
you. I got to go buy me a wet leg record
up. Oh my
for
god,
my children.
It.
All right, sorry, what were you saying?
So, what was I saying?
Oh, about Americana before it was Americana.
Yeah. So I'm so new to the genre, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you've experienced this ebb and flow in popularity, and recently it is just so popular among young people. Even how has that been? Kind of experiencing all, because I'm sure as a musician you've experienced it even in like the people that come to your concerts. It when it kind of goes up and down. How has that been?
Well, you know, I mentioned earlier about, you know, I considered moving to New Orleans, but it just didn't feel like it fit what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, and even in living in Oxford, you know, we were friends with a lot of musicians in the hill country blues scene. It even had like Junior Kimbrough's son play drums for the Taylor Grocery Band for a number of years. Kenny Kimbrough.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. We do a whole show about Kenny Kimbrough stories. He's amazing.
That's cool, man.
But you know, Americana first started getting floated around, just the word, kind of when No Depression magazine really caught on.
Okay.
And then No Depression really kind of created a feedback loop.
Yeah.
You know, No Depression was taken from an Uncle Tupelo record, which is actually a Carter family song. But then,
Did I know
you know, there would be all kind of articles in there, and we used to kind of joke about it because every article would be like, it's like Bill Monroe meets the Rolling Stones, or if it's it's like Jimmy Rogers meets Cat Stevens.
Everybody loves to do that.
Yeah, it was always this really old stuff mixed with this really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And this is where we're coming from. So, you know, it gets everything gets packaged and gets brought back around again.
Yeah.
You know, it was Sturgill Simpson when he came out and listened to his songs. I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That takes me right back to classic Merle Haggard and that stuff.
Absolutely. And Waylon.
But still was nailing it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I listen to it all the time too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. To answer your question, it just feels like, you know, things just keep getting recycled musically. They'll just keep coming back around, and like the indie alternative scene rediscovered the banjo about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And now there's banjo on absolutely everything, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, 10 years before that, if you showed up on stage with a banjo, everybody would have left.
You get
We don't
laughed
want-
off
yeah.
stage.
We don't want. That's the deliverance instrument. We don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
So if there's anything American about Americana to me, it's the recycling factor. I would just keep pulling stuff back up.
It's kind of like clothes, right? How
Mm-hmm.
fashion is not my thing, but you can see phases of things that kind of always come in and kind of come out. One thing
Good songwriting and good
great song.
tones. Good tones from instruments is always going to come back around.
Right. One of my favorite things when I met you and the band that you're playing with, which would you like shout out?
The Accumulators.
The Accumulators. Did I say accumulator?
Accumulators.
So I've seen you guys play multiple times because I'm really good friends with Tyler Kemp.
Oh, he's
and
awesome.
been friends with him for a long time. So that's kind of how I went to hear him play with you guys one time. And then I heard y'all play, and I was like, where have y'all been? Like, this is like traditional music like this. I didn't know anybody else around town actually played that kind of music. And so I've kind of seen you guys a few times. And then I finally called Matthew to come play on the live stream the other night. And then we met. And my favorite thing about meeting you guys was just how like the business side of music was the last thing that was on your mind. Like
Yeah.
I talked to Austin. Austin's plays bass, and he was like, "Dude, you got to let me come play with you sometime."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "All right, man. How much do you charge?" Like that was my first, because my mind goes to that. And he was like, "What are you talking about charging?" He was like, "I just want to come play." And then you were talking about coming on the live stream, and I was like, "How much do you need?" Like I want to, and y'all were like, "We just want
Oh yeah.
to have fun." And so
You can't. Yeah. You can't.
as a person, and I think I tied a lot to like my upbringing and like the pressure family has pushed on me to be successful. I feel so many young musicians, we want to prove something by being successful. And what I loved about hanging out with you guys for a little while, where it was just, we just want to play some music, and we want to play music with people that we love hanging out with.
We've accepted our lack of success. We come to terms with it.
No, but like,
I'm gonna let you hold my guitar.
yeah,
I gotta sneak out.
dude, going ahead.
There's a train coming. I gotta go look.
Going ahead, get your time in there. So yeah, I don't know if anybody else has felt this way at all, but I have felt many times how I feel like success is so important to me, and I need to be growing, and I need to be doing this, and I need to be doing that, and etc. And it was just so nice to be around a group of guys who love to just get together and play music together. I don't know if they get paid and all that kind of stuff, and it was just such a great reminder for me to remember why I fell in love with doing this thing. Let's see who we got in here. We got Ron in here. Says, love the convo with Brother TB. Down to earth and real is real. Right on. Brent says, wet log is damn good. Wet leg, sorry. Man, I'm so far away from the screen I can't see it. Yeah, I can't play him any Coulter because I don't have it all set up for that. I kind of got this interview set up. But I'm going to get him to listen to some Colt. Get him to listen to some Kate McCannon for sure. But how y'all doing, everybody? How's everybody doing? Sorry I'm not being super interactive with the comments tonight. I kind of wanted to really focus on everything that's going on up here. But hopefully everybody's doing all right. By the way, what y'all sipping on? I got a fancy Cold Daddy. What are these things? What are these things even called? These are from Memphis. This is Ghost River Brewing Company, called the Heliades Tears. By the way, you can go to the bathroom as many times as you need, buddy.
Well, keep drinking beer. I will.
Keep drinking. That's why I got them in the Cold Daddy cooler. So, like, what I was saying is how refreshing it was to meet other musicians who were just like, man, we just want to play. And we want to play music that they enjoy. And that was so encouraging to me. So thank you for being like that. Because, like, as a younger guy who doesn't know you guys, and I look up to y'all a lot, it was intimidating to hang out with you guys, and then for y'all to be so kind and so encouraging. It was just, it was really cool, man.
That's really kind of you to say that. I can't imagine why anybody would ever feel intimidated hanging out with us. We're really fortunate.
Because you're kind of a big deal around here. I mean, from somebody who, wants to learn more about this style of music, and you've done so much in this style of music with the radio show and with the bands that you've played in, like.
I have the years put in, definitely, to where I've met the folks and I can tell the stories,
right,
and have a little bit of perspective, and that is fun to have. We're fortunate in our band that we're able to book gigs and play places where we don't feel like we have to, play a certain set list. I kind of went through that phase, and not having to do that anymore is great. And instead, we can turn around and introduce people to songs that are 150 years old. That everybody's been playing in Mississippi, but
That's
we
what I want
play
you
it.
to do.
It sounds like a good time. And we ended up doing a lot of weddings because people just want that sound at their wedding. Something
you are playing a private party,
different,
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, downtown Fonders up on top of the
So
building.
so how throughout your years of music, how teach me how you have been able to stay keeping the love of music as the main thing compared to the desire to search for success. Like, how has that walk been?
I can honestly say that the desire for success. I mean, I like being appreciated. I definitely like hearing nice people say nice things about me. That's wonderful. Yeah. But I made a decision very early on that chasing any kind of success was not going to be something I would be able to do. I just wasn't going to be able to do it. I'm not able to do that much self-promotion. I would much rather pursue the music. Gosh, I don't really know how to say it. It just was always following what I was interested in and what I thought was interesting and what sounded good to me and what I wanted to build off of. Yeah. Versus trying to see, will this connect with people? Will this connect with people? We have like 5 or 6 songs that we know everybody knows. Yeah. And so if we feel like the crowd's earned it, we'll play something that everybody knows. Yeah. Or if it's just the right situation. But I wouldn't even know how to start. Like I've known songwriters who would spend years going to Nashville, co-writing songs, and driving to Nashville 2 or 3 times a week for years to go up there for a songwriting session because maybe you'll get a thing, and then
that's what.
And then of course, now the whole royalty situation is completely dried up. Nobody's making money doing that anymore. Yeah. So unless you can get your stuff licensed for like a TV show or a movie, then you're not as a songwriter. And now everybody's trying to do that, and so that market is just so hard to get into. For a while there in Oxford, we had a friend who had been fortunate enough to play on a very seminal record from the 1970s, and he was just hanging out in Holly Springs, in Marshall County, spending money because he was getting a 6-figure check every quarter from album-oriented rock, AOR radio, and they were playing the songs. He was lucky enough to have points on the record, and literally was just spending money. Jeez. Come to town and hang out, spend some money, and then streaming came along, and that dried up like that. Yeah. I think he's selling paintings. Yeah, and he's a bona fide rock star. Yeah. He wrecked a Lamborghini with Keith Moon. That's how much of a bona fide rock star he is. Yeah. It's crazy that for $9 a month you can have the history of recorded music at your fingertips. Apple Music is the best thing ever. It's wild. You can listen to anything you want to listen to. The entire thing. Me and my daughters play a game where we'll take one of our favorite songs, and we'll just type that song in, and then just listen to all the different versions of it that people have done over the years. Right. And I am old enough to remember when you had to go searching for songs. Begging your friend to let you borrow the record so you could copy it, and now it's almost too easy. All right, can I make a recommendation of a song? Can I recommend a song? I'll put some money in the tip jar. My favorite lyric of yours is in Jericho Mile, and if you could do that one, I'd really appreciate it. And I'm gonna ask the folks out there while we're listening, take a guess which one of these lyrics is my favorite lyrics.
But I remember I was going to the grocery store to get the beers earlier, and I was listening to it again. And every time I hear it, it just makes me happy. I'll let everybody guess. Hey, let me get this.
Jericho Mile. I'd
Been to Proud Larry's in
Tell me.
in Oxford,
I would love to hear
Mississippi.
the backstory on this song.
And I'd heard Adrian Legg play a concert. He was an acoustic guitar player who did all the multiple tunings and was really exploring all the different places you could go with acoustic guitar. And I heard him play and got all fired up. And I do most of my best practicing after I go hear somebody I think is awesome.
Yeah.
So I went back and started working on this song. And I don't know where the title Jericho Mile came from, but again, as a good old Southern Baptist boy, the biblical imagery in my songs is ever present. When I die, I'm gonna go in style. Write my name on the Jericho Mile. Jericho Miles paid in clay. I slipped down there many a day. The walls won't fall. Unless they're shattered. And the people won't burn inside. Unless that's the only way.
Fiddle with it.
Kempleg Sally with the golden hair. Jericho Mile, you can find her there. One for the road, two for the show. It's 3 in the morning, now it's time to go. The walls won't fall unless they're shattered. The people won't burn inside unless that's the only way. Jar full of oil and a jar full of light. Smash 'em on the wall on a Saturday night. On the Jericho Mile, it's raining. And on the Jericho Mile, there's a horn playing.
That guitar sounds so good. What kind of guitar is that?
Martin, HD28.
Woo! It sounds so big, man. I think you're gonna like how it sounds when you hear the playback.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Well, this is a good microphone.
Um,
That's a good microphone.
Can anybody guess what my favorite lyric was? Nobody's guessed so far. But I mean, I feel like, should I give them a little time? because sometimes there's like a big lag on this thing. Cyber says that's some picking, love it. Smashed against the wall.
Well, I
Sounds
got a
fantastic.
question for you.
Come
while
on.
we're waiting. Who fought the Battle of Jericho?
I have no idea.
Joshua.
Josh, yeah, that's right.
Joshua.
Man, I got so many issues with religion. I done forgot everything. I'm actually a Christian studies major in college. I went to Bible school, and I don't know nothing about none of it.
That all that's biblical imagery, every bit of it. The jar full of oil.
All the things.
Yeah, they were all going to blow a horn.
So many of
same
your
time.
songs, right?
They
so
smashed the thing, and then
Yeah.
they lit the oil, and there was fire, and there was noise, and the inhabitants of the city just lost it.
went wild.
It went wild.
So
exactly.
many of your songs on that record have biblical imagery in it, like "Blues for Jesus." I'd love for you to play that song too. So where were you at in that? Because how long ago was that record that you made?
That came out in 2013, but a lot of those songs I'd kind of been putting aside over the years because they were all either murder ballads or they dealt with some of those themes. I just felt like they all were part of a coherent album.
Yeah.
Which shows how old I am. I expect an album.
Gotta have an album.
To be coherent. You know, to kind of try to say the same things all the way through it.
Well, Chuck and I always make the joke that you can't ever stop being from church.
You can't.
You can never stop being from church.
You can't, and you shouldn't.
So nobody guessed it. My favorite lyric is "One for the road,
2 for the show.
2 for the show, 3 in the morning."
3 in the morning. It's time to
Time to go. Sometimes you just feel lyrics, and I love it for a couple. One, I love what it says, and then 2, one of my favorite John Moreland lyrics is 1 for the money, 4 on the floor. You were born last week with your foot in the door. And he's singing this song about how a song doesn't matter anymore, and musicians that are TikTok stars are more important than like actual songwriters. But it reminded me so much of that John Moreland song. But because I didn't know where you were going because you were having all this biblical talk, and then you said it's 3 in the morning, it's time to go. I was like, oh yes, that's exactly what I need. That's a great song, man.
Thanks.
It's
Yeah,
such a
in
great
my
song.
mind, it was always kind of a conflation of the story of the Battle of Jericho, and just imagining, you know, the end of like the street in town where all the bars were. You know, the end of the street, not
Yeah.
where the fancy bars are, but down at
Yeah.
the end where
Right.
where everybody's not making it so good.
Yeah.
And I don't know why those two things came together in that song.
So what
They
did
just
Jericho Mile mean to you? That street that you're talking about, the end of the street?
Just would have been called the Jericho Mile. It was just kind of a made up. I think I was watching a lot of Deadwood at the time. So I had this made up back in the day. You know, where like mud and no sidewalks and
Yeah.
and old saloons and people just kind of making out the best they can. So yeah, Jericho Mile.
Very cool, man. Let's see who we got. Church is where it all begins, boys. How can we get TB's music? Does he have a URL? Where can people find your music? Just TB Ledford on Spotify, right?
Just TB Ledford on Spotify. I just have that one record.
Here, I can look it up. Why don't you tell us about that record?
Again, those are some songs I'd held back. I'd done some records with the Kudzu Kings and with the Taylor Grocery Band, and there were always just some that I felt like would fit together better. I attempted to record them over the course of the years, really, in Oxford, with fantastic musicians. But when it came time to finally put it on record, I went to Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, right outside Lafayette, and enlisted the help of Dirk Powell. Americana, a lot of Americana fans will know who he is, and I went to him with the songs, and I just played them and didn't say a mumbling word about how I wanted it arranged or anything. A lot of these I'd sat on for so long, I felt like I'd kind of gotten stale on it, and just let him put the record together. And it was so funny how many of the like the harmony parts and the instrumental parts, all the things he laid down were things that me and my friends in Oxford had already done.
We're already doing
But
it.
it was what was natural to the song, you know. But these songs were very well polished. They'd been played a lot over the years. I got to perform in the studio recording these songs. We did it all live. All the vocals are live. We did overdubs and all the instruments. But Dirk played bass. Had a guy named Glenn Fields, a fantastic drummer, played with the Red Stick Ramblers for a long time, and now he plays with the Revelers. And then a lady named Anna Laura Edmiston sang backup vocals, and she played with a band called Fofele out of Lafayette for a number of years. But that was everybody that was on the record. We put it together over the course of a year. I was really, really happy with it when it came out. I still am. And that was what I wanted, you know. And really, you know, my poor brother-in-law had a record label at the time, and he funded it. And like once we had the record and it sounded good, I was like, okay, cool, we're done. There was never really.
I'm not going on tour.
It's never really
What
an
are you
effort
talking
to
about?
try to push it or get it out there.
Yeah.
Just was happy to have it. A gentleman named Justin Schultz is from Jackson. Did all the artwork on the
Love Justin Schultz.
yeah, just drew it all himself, you know. So it was great. I was happy to get it. Now I have boxes of them in my basement. If anybody wants one,
You'll never find a songwriter who ain't got boxes of some CDs or
CDs.
vinyl like everywhere if their spouse or partner will allow it to happen. Most of the time it gets to a point where you're just like, I got to get rid of these
I know.
things.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Still hanging on to them. Who
So
knows?
when we going to get another record, man? It's been now 9 years. When are
Again,
you and the boys going to throw something down? Now, are you guys writing together, or are you just playing a lot of...
Hardly ever. We do a little arranging together. Me and you know Matthew McGee plays the fiddle, and Austin Sorey plays the bass. My daughters have literally grown up on stage with those guys
That's
as
so cool,
role
man.
models. You know,
That's so
standing there next to
the
them
the
and
best guys to have as role
looking
models.
at them. I mean, talk about wanting mentors.
Yeah.
Man, those guys. So we've talked about it, but we really haven't. Most of my songs I've been writing lately are for my kids at the elementary school.
That's so cool.
I've written musicals for them, and it's like I said, I'm in the process of writing one today. The charge I get out of playing music, and that I get out of playing music specifically with those guys, are those moments when we're playing together on stage when the ESP takes over, and we're just so locked in, solid, and it's for me it's very much a spiritual experience.
Absolutely.
And chasing that high is really what it's all about.
Yeah. Just feeling
Just
that
chasing
feeling.
it down, hoping that this week you'll get like 15 seconds of just absolute bliss of everything being where it's supposed to be, and playing with one mind.
Yep.
One mind, answering each other's questions, musical questions, and yeah, that's pretty much why I do it. Every band I've ever played with, we would have those moments where it was just transcendent.
Yeah.
And again, going back to church, trying to lock back into those real spiritual moments where you felt connected
Connect to something.
to everybody around you, and you
Yep.
felt connected to something that was bigger than you and that was
Yep.
better than you.
Yep. It's exactly how I feel doing this stuff. And it's so
We're totally on the same path.
it's so strange that most people only see like this wall and me and people that come on here, but like to be a part of this growing thing of people, and you'll see like after we do the live stream tonight, for just the members that we have in our community, we do like a FaceTime kind of thing on Discord where we shoot the shit and talk. But to hear that so many people love the same kind of music that you do, and that just support what's going on, man. It's just really cool. And even though I don't play live hardly ever anymore. I just sing songs around here. It's just the desire for that experience of something is happening. You can't describe it, but something special is happening, right? Mm-hmm. By the way, I have some microphones, so if y'all ever want to do anything, I got some stuff that we could record with.
We could set up in the corner. We can bring the trio up in here.
Y'all, if y'all ever want to record any music, like, please, like, come here and we'll do whatever you guys want to do. I would love to record you guys. And I'm not charging you $1 since y'all don't ever talk about money. No money. Please come over here and make music. I'd love to help y'all. All right. So I have a dream of opening a small music venue in Jackson.
That's how you end up with the Thacker Mountain Radio Show. That's where it starts.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I have been so frustrated.
A listening room.
Or a listening room.
We don't have those in the South.
Or a listening room. There's one in Mobile. Have you been to the one in Mobile? I've been talking to them. There's one in Mobile that's supposed to be really cool. It's just called like the Mobile Listening Room, I think.
We don't have those in the South.
So
you get up north, and there's actually places where people go to sit and listen to music.
Yes, and so
in the South, we play music to sell beer.
Right. We are literally background music, and I made a video on YouTube recently about. I went and played at Hallamals for the first time that I've played since the pandemic started. Mm-hmm. And I forgot how soul-sucking some of those nights felt. And I had, like, lots of family and friends come. It was, like, more people than normally come. But it's just a culture of people who they are there to hang out, and you are just a sideshow. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. Like, I don't deserve to. I'm not saying, like, I'm so good that, like, people should listen to what I'm doing. But I do really. One thing I love about playing music on the internet is that there's nobody yelling. There's nobody dropping their beer or, like, it's silent in here. And so.
Or somebody orders a margarita. And the bartender has to run the blender for 30 seconds.
Yes.
Right when you felt like you'd pulled everybody in.
Right.
Here comes the point.
Or at Hallamals, they left the music on loud in the bar.
They did not know it was on.
And
we always have to do that everywhere. The first thing we do is ask the hostess, "Can you turn the house music off?" Because they don't hear it anymore. They don't even know what's going on.
It was just so frustrating. And so I don't even know if it's possible. But I would love to open either a small listening room or a small cap venue because Jackson doesn't have one. There's no actual music venue that is like 100, 150 people. There's like the Red Room at Hallamals, which is like 300 or 400 people. Do you know of any like small venue in Jackson that exists? I don't know of anyone that exists. So you started this radio thing. The question,
literally for that reason.
Yeah.
To the dream you're talking about, to chase that.
Can that be an actual thing in Jackson, Mississippi? Can that exist?
I'm not sure. I mean, I want to point out, you seem to have created it. You've created it right here. It's not live, and like with people in the room, but maybe this is how people like us find each other now. Maybe it'll be this way. Having an actual, brick and mortar place to sit down and play for people is amazing. But, music stores used to be amazing. How many of those are around anymore?
Right. Bookstores, record stores.
Maybe the irony will be that where we end up finding real connections will be through digital media.
That's totally where I found it.
Yeah. I mean, clearly, I see these messages all coming up here. So sure,
man. Cyber says he gets us. Yeah. So like this is And Cyber says it's a great community worth a couple bucks. And maybe it's just one of those situations where I have what I want. Because like I was telling you, I've never felt like I've been a part of a music community locally anywhere. I know the musicians in town, the ones that I know, but I mean, we don't like do a lot together. Like we see each other at shows and we may talk for a little bit, but I don't feel like there's a bond with musicians around town. That's why I would love to hang out with people like you and Matthew and folks like that. But maybe I just need to stop thinking about making this venue and just...
No, don't stop thinking about that. Don't stop thinking about that because there is there's
a need for it.
And there's a real value to sharing music with people in a space.
There's a need.
Where, again, I'm going back to church.
Yeah.
That spiritual community aspect of all of it is real.
Yeah.
And it's valuable and it's necessary.
Yeah.
And there's not enough of it in our lives. But, man, you got to get everybody in their cars and driving to a place.
I gotta not watch Netflix
place.
tonight?
No kidding.
Are you kidding me?
We got it. This is going to be on my schedule.
I
I agree. Those places are special. And when they show up, yeah.
just don't know if it can exist in Jackson.
I know that there's enough people that would appreciate it, but yeah, all the stuff that goes into keeping a brick and mortar place, everybody's having trouble with that these days.
Yeah, like even the people who normally do well, like are really... Maybe I just need to embrace the internet. Maybe I just need to stop. I need to renovate my dadgum garage because I want to renovate the garage
You've
into the
embraced
studio.
it. I guarantee you, there's plenty of people playing a solo show somewhere for two people. They're like, I wish I had Tyler set up. This would be amazing.
Yeah. Well, man, when you're right, you're right. All right. You got another one for us?
Did you want to hear Blues for Jesus?
There's a few. There's a lot that I want to hear. I want to hear Blues for Jesus. I want to hear Palestine. But I also want you to play whatever songs you want to play.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
All right, let's do Palestine. Because it comes with a good story.
All right.
All right, so this is how old I am. When I was a kid, we would walk back through the woods to the railroad tracks, which is, does everybody know you have a railroad track?
Right
Literally like 30 yards back there.
Stone's
You can
throw.
hear those rhythms all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Bluegrass is industrial music.
My mother-in-law
People do
complained
not
about it real
realize
hard.
that. Bluegrass is industrial music. It comes from things like railroad trains.
Rhythms and-
Right out there, absolutely.
Yeah.
We would go do that, and for the fun of it, we would jump on the cars and ride them until they got going too fast, and then we would jump off, just messing around with trains.
Yeah.
We would stack stuff on the rails and hide to watch the train smash through it because we were dumb. But anyway, so I was working at a summer camp in Texas, and when I was in college, and there was nothing around. It was the middle of nowhere. There was a train stopped. I was like, oh, let's ride this train a little bit. And we got on it, and we started riding it, and it got going fast really quick. I was like, oh, y'all, we got to go. So we jumped off, and I jumped off, and because I'd done this kind of thing before, my feet were moving. The next girl jumped off. Her feet were moving. Third girl jumped off, did not move her feet, just jumped like she was jumping down from something. So as soon as she hit, she smacked, and she was okay. But I have one of those moments you have when you're a kid that's like, oh, this was a really stupid thing to do,
Yeah.
and somebody could have died, and I will never do this again.
Yeah.
But I will think about it a lot and write a song. It's that Palestine Song. Well, I come from down around Palestine, where the days are long and the dogs are mean. There's a whole lot of nothing to do for fun, shooting turtles off a log with my daddy's gun. So when we got bored, we'd walk out back and hike to town on the railroad track. Yeah, me and my best friend Billy Long, sometimes his little sister would tag along. We'd steal a pack of cools from the Save-A-Lot, stand around smoking in the parking lot. When they run us off, we'd hit the pool hall, drink a cold Coca-Cola, leaning against the wall. And one night when Billy wasn't there, and it was just me and Jenny playing Truth or Dare, she said dare, and the very next thing, we hopped a local pulling out behind the Dairy Queen. Palestine, Palestine, I'm gonna lay my head on a sandy bed, let the netches wash me clean. Yeah, the moon was low and the night was deep, and it felt like the end of a long, long sleep. Felt like we were getting somewhere, and then she picked up speed, and we got scared. I jumped first and I lost my feet, rolled through the gravel on my hands and knees, tasted blood and I tasted dirt. I was trying to decide if I was hurt when she jumped off into that Texas night, but her shirt got hung on a warning light. She fell down under the boxcar shade, drowned out in a kind of sound she made. The train blew its whistle as it pulled away. Half an hour late for Galveston Bay, I lay there in the gravel till the lights were gone. Got up and went to tell her mother what I'd done. Palestine, Palestine, come on. I'm gonna lay my head on a sandy bed, let the netches wash me buried her on a Monday in the pouring rain. Damn near half the county came. At the service they kept her casket closed. We sang Amazing Grace in our Sunday clothes. And tonight I'm walking these tracks again. I'm headed for a spot just around the bend where the river's deep, neath the trestle spread. I'm gonna make a little peace with the ghost of the dead. Palestine, Palestine, I'm gonna lay my head on a sandy bed, let the netches wash me clean. Palestine, Palestine, I'm gonna float my soul down to Mexico and let the netches wash me clean.
Come on.
Woo!
Come on.
Bringing everybody up on this Tuesday afternoon.
All the Texas folks we got in the audience will be so happy you singing something about Texas. Now, where is your relation to Palestine, Texas?
Oh, good question. So when I was living and working in Texas, it was just right across the border. It was in Trinity, Texas, which is very close to Livingston and very close to Huntsville, which is where the Texas State Prison is. That's their version of Angola, their version of Parchment. And there was a town on the map, Palestine, but of course reading it, I was like, Palestine.
Right.
And it was on the Neches River,
And it was all, want to stay close to the original source material. So I started writing this song called Palestine. And I had all of the rhyming words in there too. As a songwriter, you get that, right?
Yeah.
Palestine, lots of rhyming
So
words
many
dealing
rhyming
with
words,
Palestine. And it was kind of all over the place. I had it in 3 different notebooks, and it was a different song in every notebook. But I still wanted to get it down, and so I kept after it. And one day I was sitting there, and in my mind I'm like, Palestine just doesn't feel right. And so I looked up. I actually had a phone book. Remember those?
Yep.
And I looked up the a phone number in Palestine, Texas, and it happened to be the local radio station.
Yeah.
So I called, and the DJ answered, and I said, "Where do you live?" And he goes, "Well, it's spelled Palestine, but around here we like to say Palestine." And I said a really loud, dirty word, and I slammed the phone down on him. And that dude,
It ruined your song.
He's got to remember that. It was like, what on earth was that all about?
Yeah.
I didn't even try to explain it. And got mad about it, and then went back in and worked on it and turned the whole thing around and got it to a place where I liked it and it felt like it communicated what I wanted to say. But boy, it is that pitiful aspect of, and I consider that a murder ballad, even though nobody got murdered.
Yeah. You
A
murdered that
manslaughter ballad, maybe.
You murdered that phone when you slammed it down.
Yeah, exactly. Poor DJ.
Oh, that guy. So many people saying some nice stuff. Anne Marie says nice. LaPaz says that was great.
Thank y'all.
Ron says, I relate so much to the train hopping stories. I was 9 years old. Let's see if I can get closer to see this. In Gary/Hammond, and ride one to Chicago, spend the day, then catch one back to beat mama and daddy from work. It was just a part of my early education. Love Palestine, and I mean love. I don't know what that says, but I'm just really enjoying myself, Burt. You guys doing an old man right tonight. Thanks. Thank you for hanging out, Ron. Love you, man. Man, there's so many towns that you think that you know what it's called, and then you get there and people are like, what did you say? Palestine? Like Palestine?
Well, I came from South Louisiana to Oxford.
There's some crazy names of places in Louisiana
which is in
nobody knows.
Lafayette County.
Lafayette.
And it took me 10 years to stop saying Lafayette.
I've always heard Lafayette. Anybody in Mississippi has always said Lafayette anytime they say the city.
Exactly. But it's Lafayette County.
Lafayette
It just
County.
wore me out.
Okay, so what I'd love to know, like, what I know music is super important to you, and it's such a big part of y'all's life, and that's what I love about hanging out with you guys, because it's not only what you do outside of work, but it is like a family affair. All of the kids play something. Everybody. So like Matthew and his wife are both musicians. I don't know about Austin situation.
Austin's wife is an amazing singer too. He has a son who is a wonderful singer, but he just won't sing in front of people. We got to work on that.
Yep.
Matthew's wife Allison is that's a whole other thing.
So how do you cultivate that kind of community within your family? So I have a 2-year-old, and I would love for him to really get into music. So what advice would you give to people who are trying to encourage their kids to really?
The advice I would give as a music educator and a father of 4 daughters would be just keep music on.
Yeah.
Keep it around them. If you do anything at all, if you can strum one chord on a guitar, do that in front of those children.
Yeah.
Children are going to, whatever you're able to do, they're going to feel like it's accessible. If you stand back and go, I don't know how anybody does that, but I mean, you don't have to be good. I try to tell people that all the time. Strum one chord and sing a little goofy song, and your kids will think you're a rock star. They already think you're a rock star.
Yeah.
You'll just be playing a guitar being a rock star. That makes it feel accessible to them. I've read so many musician biographies, and every single one I've ever read always starts with my mama played.
Yep.
My daddy played. My aunt played.
Yep.
Somebody in the family played music and made it accessible to that person.
Right.
When somebody does something, when your parent does it, you're like, okay, I'll be able to do that too.
Yeah, my Meemaw was a singer, and so I started singing since I was 6 years old, singing solos in the Christmas musical at church, doing Sunday singings wherever. I didn't start playing guitar until I was 15, but because my Meemaw, she sang, she was a singer.
Yep.
That's what I saw, and that's what I knew.
And you never made that decision.
No, I
to
didn't
start
even know.
singing. You were just like, that's what we do.
Right,
That's what my family does.
right.
Doc Watson tells a great story
Love
about when
Doc.
he first started learning to play.
Yeah,
I think it was like somebody in the family had a guitar that he was not allowed to touch.
yeah,
But because he couldn't go out in the fields and work, he got left at home.
yeah.
So he would go find it and pull it out, learn to play it, and put it back up. Sammy Kershaw, amazing fiddle player, with his brother Doug from South Louisiana. I mean, they like grew up on a floating, like a floating house out in the middle of a swamp in Opelousas or something. Tells a story about his daddy would put the fiddle way up on top of the chifferow where nobody could touch it because his daddy didn't want nobody touching his fiddle. And as soon as he left to go
Climb up there.
go pole through the swamp and check his traps, little 4-year-old Sammy Kershaw is figuring out how to climb up on top of the chifferow and get to it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going back here. You play a song.
Dude, they ain't nobody. They hear me sing all the time.
Well, do
man. Ain't
another
nobody
one.
Got
Not
no
on
time
that
to
guitar.
Hear me sing.
That'll brand new.
God, this thing is nice.
It's all right. Those strings are pre-pandemic.
How's everybody doing tonight? Sorry that I am being very not interactive with comments, but it's good to see everybody. LaPage, what's going on? Good to see y'all here. Howdy, who's that? What's up, Clyde? How you doing? So tonight is just a laid back learning from a living legend here, everybody. I hope y'all are all enjoying TB and all his stories. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us, man. It's still so cool that every time that we do this, people show up and want to come hang out. Love Sammy Kershaw, says Mark R. We're going to get into play a couple of more songs. Y'all have to listen to me so much that you're probably sick of hearing me play and sing. So I'm not going to play and sing. Question. Let's see. What question would I like to ask? I'd love to know, most of you guys are big music fans, right? So how did y'all get introduced to the music that you love? Was it from a mom? Was it from a grandparent? Was it from a friend? Who is Amory says play that dang guitar. This guitar is way too nice for me. I better not play it. Who was that person in your life that that introduced you to music? Mine was actually my meemaw, or later on in life was my aunt. So who was that for you? Who was the person who got you into music?
By
the way,
you
if
know,
you want another one, let me know.
I would like another one,
Come on,
please, sir. Just empty the tank.
Whenever it's empty, you just tell me.
When I first had moved to Oxford, I was really fortunate. I kind of really lucked into meeting this gentleman named Ed Dye.
I remember you saying
Ellsworth Dye, originally from Montgomery, Alabama. He had had a heart attack. He was
tell
living
the
in
story.
Nashville at the
I'm also
time.
gonna go pee.
Go for it. And he and his wife had moved to Oxford. His wife was going to get her graduate degree in Southern Studies at Oxford. They were both in their 60s. He had been a musician his whole life, really a journeyman musician, played everywhere. He had played at the Station Inn in Nashville for a number of years. He had been a guy that recorded the crazy used car salesman videos in Southern California. He'd been in the Merchant Marine during World War II. He just lived a really amazing American life, and he was very much a proponent of the old jug band music, and also Jimmy Rogers from Meridian. And he played a lot of those songs, and he taught me a lot of those songs. And a lot of those songs, I learned them from him. I didn't learn them from, records or somebody else, and I didn't realize, at the time, we were just trying to put a set together. Remember the first time we ever played anywhere, it was at Harvest Bakery in Oxford, which was kind of the vegan hippie restaurant in Oxford back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I'd gotten us a gig and said, Ed, we'll go in there. And at that point, for me, playing country bluegrass music was mostly playing every song off of the Will the Circle Be Unbroken record, Itty Gritty Dirt Band. And, of course, Ed knew those songs. But he knew other songs, too. Ed played some guitar. He mostly was like a showman.
He was, so I've heard of him. I don't know him, but I've heard he is a character.
Oh, yeah. He passed away a few years back, but he was amazing. Everything about him was amazing. But our first show, we're playing there at Harvest Bakery, like I said, little Harvest Cafe, excuse me. We're over in the corner, and I think I had on my Oxford button down and some khaki pants. I was looking nice for my gig.
How did he show up?
And he probably had on a Station Inn t-shirt and some blue jeans. He had long white hair, long white beard. After that movie Old School came out, the college kids would holler blue at him when they went by, and he never got it. It made him so mad. Like, why are they calling me blue? So I don't know, Ed.
That is so good.
I know. But he definitely looked like blue.
I bet.
But so we're playing, and we're doing some very respectful, nice old traditional folk music songs, and I'm feeling pretty good about it because I'm remembering the chords, I'm remembering the words, and feeling good. And Ed, there was a piano behind us in the corner. We weren't playing it, but there was an old upright piano that some people would play. And after about 4 songs, I'm sitting there feeling great. This is going good. Nobody's giving us the stink eye. Nice and quiet restaurant. And Ed turns and looks at me and is like, we've got to do something to get these people worked up. I'm about to set this effing piano on fire if that's what it takes. And he started hopping around, and it never occurred to me that I wanted people to listen to us.
Right.
I just wanted to be there playing music. Yeah. I didn't want to intrude on anybody's night.
Yeah.
And Ed definitely wanted everybody's attention. And he was really amazing at doing that. I tell people all the time that I feel like he was our last link to the vaudeville area, because he was very vaudevillian in the way he approached things.
Right.
He would jump up and just do a little tap dance in the middle of a song.
Yeah.
He couldn't tap dance, but he would just jump up and do stuff or run around the room and hoot and holler. And he was very much about putting on a show.
He's an entertainer.
Entertaining, yes, performing. And that had never been anything I even remotely considered. I just wanted to sing in tune.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do.
Not screw up.
But, so many songs that I know and that we play to this day that my girls know, I learned from Ed. And then I'll go back and listen to the originals. And it's not, it's nothing like the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I'm so fortunate to have been able to play with him for probably about 10 years and learn so many songs from him and hear all of his great stories. He he asked me to drive him to Nashville one time because some friends were having a barbecue for July 4th.
Yeah.
I was like, sure, let's go. So we went to Nashville, and we walk in the door, and somebody's like, you want some burgers? Go over there. And Ricky Skaggs was cooking hamburgers.
Hell yes.
Mac Wiseman, who was really old at that point, he's a bluegrass vocalist. He was holding court over in the corner, singing songs with people playing with him. Del McCurry and all the McCurrys were there, all their bands. It was just a kind of a who's who of bluegrass that lived around Nashville.
Yeah.
And
how was the burger?
I just happened to be there because Ed was there. It was amazing.
Was it pretty good?
It was great.
I bet Ricky Skaggs.
He did a great job with it. But I didn't know it was him. I walked up and there's a dude flipping burgers in an apron, and he turns around and he goes, "How would you like your burger?" I was like, "However you want to cook it, Ricky Skaggs."
You just
You just
can I just stand here and talk to you?
I might not even eat it. I might see if I can put it on eBay later.
Oh man, so
So
good.
that was what life with Ed Dye was like. You know Bella Fleck, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Bella Fleck and the Flecktones came and played at. They came and played at Proud Larry's one night, and Ed showed up, and they're playing their gig and everything, and Bella Fleck's looking around the room, and he sees Ed in the back of the room, and he's like stops. It's like, is that Ed Dye? And they were like, yeah, that's Ed Dye, because Ed Dye, again, he pretty much lived. He literally lived at the station inn. He slept behind the couch for a while.
Wow.
So they all knew him. Victor Wooten, Bella Fleck, all those guys knew who he was. And they immediately called him up on stage and became his backup band. And
Did he take over?
Oh yeah, let him take over and wow the crowd, And it was an amazing night. But those kind of moments happened with Ed all the time.
Yeah.
And he taught me so much about not just songs, but about music and putting your sounds out there and going for that sound instead of going for any kind of commercial success.
Man, I wish I could tell stories about people that I've had in my life. I feel like success has just been what people around me have pushed me to, and it's with this kind of music that we make, it's hard. It's really hard to find success. You find very few people.
Tremendous successful rewards but they're not monetary.
Right. And it's a thing that I'm having to reteach myself of the importance of, and that's why Chuck helps me out so much with what we're doing, is just reminding me that do what you enjoy doing. Everything else just really doesn't matter. And I try to do the best I can at what we're doing. I want to do the best I can, but at the end of the day, I know that when I'm 60 or 70 years old, I'm not going to look back at this time and think about how much money I made or how many subscribers I have or how many whatever. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I love hanging with you guys. What you got for us, man? What's the next one you got?
Do you want to hear original or do we want to hear cover? I want to do one that...
you do whatever you want.
Ed would do this song.
And people go crazy for him doing it. I loved it. It's a Jimmy Rogers song. We talked a lot about Matthew McGee on here. We were on our way to Meridian one day, and I started playing just Jimmy Rogers songs. And Jimmy Rogers, the yodeling brakeman from Meridian, Mississippi, also known as the father of country music. He gets that moniker.
Yeah.
Almost every recording artist after Jimmy Rogers was trying to be Jimmy Rogers. Everybody from Hank Williams to Gene Autry. They were recording songs trying to be just like Jimmy Rogers because he was such a huge deal.
Yeah.
And of course, I didn't know anything about him. And Ed would play all these songs, and I learned them from Ed, and then I continued playing them. So I'm playing a Jimmy Rogers record with Matthew going down the road one day, and after a few minutes, he goes, "Man, are we a Jimmy Rogers cover band?" And I just didn't know. I said, "We could be.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
We know them." They said, "Old women make a fool of me. I like the women, boys. I love them all just the same." I said, "I like the women. Love them all just the same.
Come on.
But I don't love nobody." This is a big part of playing with Ed. There'd be this indeterminate hang. You couldn't count it. You just had to wait. Well enough to change your name. Yeah, the women make a fool out of me.
Come on.
Look here. Now when I'm in the parlor, the You know the girls think that it's a treat. I said, when I'm in the parlor, the girls think that it's a treat. It's an old-fashioned word for living room. 'Cause even in the winter time, here we go.
What's up, Matthew?
You know that they turn down the heat. Hey, the women make a fool out of me. I got women down in Natchez, oh, clean on into Tennessee. I got women down in Natchez, clean on into Tennessee. But them Jackson women, Lord, they surely made a fool out of me. Yeah, the women make a fool out of me. I'm gonna buy me a shotgun just as long as I am tall. I'm gonna buy me a shotgun long as I am tall. You know this one? I'm gonna shoot poor Thelma. Poor Thelma. Poor girl. Just to watch her jump and fall. Yeah, the women make a fool out of me. You gotta do this every Jimmy Rogers song. And of course, that can go on for hours. That one song right there.
So he just held those breaks for purposefully for an insane amount of time.
Yep. And if you made
The mistake of jumping to the resolve chord before he was ready for
He
you
give you
to,
the look.
the next time around, he was going to hold it 3 times longer. He was going to make it so uncomfortable for you. For me, you know, I'm just, like I said, it's black and white. I didn't mention that I did classical piano lessons for about 8 or 9 years growing up.
Yeah.
And so I was used to reading music off the page. I had to start all over when I started to learn to play by ear and play with other people.
Yeah.
But I still held on to that stuff. Like, you know, the bass plays the bass note and only the bass note.
And there are 4 measures here,
Exactly.
and there are 2 here.
So Ed would do all these old songs that were very much improvised and just would kind of hang out, and he'd play his dobro, and I would just be sweating like I have no idea. I cannot count this. You know, and then finally he pointed out, he's like, just listen. And when I was able to start doing that, you can hear it when he's wanting to turn it around.
Right.
But, oh, man, that made me bonkers.
And I bet, if I'm guessing right, he was so focused on the audience, like what they were into. And,
So focused on the song. Yeah. He'd look at me like, well, of course the turnaround needed 7 measures instead of 2. How did you not know that?
How did you not feel that?
Exactly. How did you not feel that?
Yeah.
It was a lot of unspoken stuff along those lines. And now I do that to my bandmates and my children.
Just keep them on their toes.
Just camp out on a chord
This,
for a while.
this 4 measure break is going to get 9 measures. Wake up. Like, pay attention.
What do you got to say to that, Matthew?
Matthew McGee's up in here. Matthew, when old TB said that you might be coming, I got all excited, and I was a little disappointed.
Next time we'll bring him.
Next time we'll bring Mr. McGee. Love Matthew. Friend of the show.
Absolutely.
Matthew McGee. All right. Clyde Possumfoot. What a name. Clyde Possumfoot tipped $4.20. Thank you, Clyde.
Thanks, Clyde.
Said good song.
It's an Earth Day fan, clearly.
Well, so we're about to wrap it up. Why don't you close us out with one song? And then if you got anything that you would like to leave the folks with, I have learned so much tonight, but you got one last final Hoorah.
I had a list of about 5 or 6 things we were going to talk about, and we didn't even get to any of those.
I ain't got nothing but time.
So we can do one more.
We can
We'll
talk
come
as
back.
long
We
as
do
you
the
want.
Second installment.
I got cold daddies in the cooler, and I got nothing but time.
I got to drive back to Madison.
Exactly. That's what I was. All right.
All right, this is a song I learned from another one of my musical heroes. I've been very lucky to get to play along with and study under some pretty amazing people. And a lot of times it was just because I was willing to show up and back them up.
Yeah.
It wasn't because they just wanted people to play with them who would
That's
listen and try to work with them.
That's what's great about playing so many instruments. I bet you got so many like I only play guitar. I can't play anything else really, and like I could if I would try, but like
As I was say, if you can put your fingers on strings,
no,
and get a
for
sound
sure.
out of it, then
It's a time thing. But
another person that I had the utmost respect for, excuse me, was Duff Dura. He's from Ruleville, Mississippi. He played with a band called the Tangents, who were officially known as the Mississippi House Band back in the late 70s, early 80s. Him and Charlie Jacobs, Fish Mickey, those guys traveled all over Mississippi playing both kinds of music, country and R&B, going back and forth. Duff would come be on the radio show with us a bunch. He also, unfortunately, has passed away. But one of the songs that they were famous for doing is called Darkness on the Delta. This is a song that goes way, way, way back, probably 100, 150 years. The original lyrics aren't great, so we've changed some stuff about it. But this is a song that I learned from Duff, and every time I do it, I have him in my mind. He was the ultimate, what I like to call their vanishing breed now, but the Delta gentlemen of leisure. They would, gentlemen from the Delta who were always available to help out if there was a situation that needed to be resolved or whatever. They were always the life of the party in terms of they could sit there and tell stories and keep everybody entertained.
right.
And just these guys, and they all came from the Delta.
Yeah.
And they were just awesome company, And they're the storytellers that we just don't even have anymore. Just art form.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I learned this from him. This goes way back. Darkness on the Delta. Send this out to everybody. Good night. Mama Ruby did play it, Matthew. You're right. On the piano. When it's darkness on the Delta, whoa, heaven is in sight. When it's darkness down on the Delta, let me linger neath the shelter of your night. Fields of cotton all around me, shades of the breezes that blow. Ain't you so glad that you found me where the muddy Mississippi waters flow? Yeah, we were lounging on the levee, we were listening to the nightingales way on up above, y'all. Lanterns on the levee, whoa, my heart is heavy 'cause all God's children got someone to love. When it's darkness down on the Delta, just might be tonight. When it's darkness down on the Delta, let me linger neath the shelter of your night. caviar, we will listen to the steel guitars way on up above. Lanterns on the levee, whoa, my heart is heavy, 'cause all God's children got someone to love. When it's darkness down on the delta, you know it just might be tonight. When it's darkness on the delta, let me linger neath the shelter of your night. Let me linger neath the shelter of your night. Let me linger neath the shelter of your night. Let me linger neath the shelter of your night.